excited about this book series that was written for me. It is Big Finish's biggest production to date. It's so special, wickedly funny. I cannot wait for you to listen. Every vampire thinks the rules don't apply to them.
We investigate vampires who break the rules.
Turns out even vampires have police.
We're called Office of the Night.
Catrin, my boss. If you believe the stories, she's 1,000 years old.
Magnus, darling.
Sorry.
Magnus is a youngster, barely 100. So he takes care of the information superhighway for me. The internet. He looks me, but no one tears a head off like Magnus.
And I'm Jane.
She's our servant.
I'm your human liaison, keeping the peace between you and the authorities.
We trust you. Don't we, Magnus?
Of course.
So?
Vampires, we are watching you. Feed carefully.
Or you'll be hearing from the Office of the Night.
Finished? Good. Come, Magnus. We have immortal laws to protect. And we're running low on cat litter. Goosey, Gushingly, and Mummy's whole gang.
Hi, everyone.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey, this is Watcher Dev. We are here to talk about VAMP PD, which I really, really am a super fan of. Even if I wasn't involved in it tangentially, I would be such a fan of this show. I want to bring on Juliet Landau, Alimi Ballard, Mara Wilson, and Ursula Burton. So we have our actors and our director here. Let's just jump straight in. Juliet, how did VAMP PD come about? What made you have to do this show?
Ooh. Well, I had worked with Big Finish, Jason Hay Ellery, and Lizzie Pryor on Doctor Who audiobooks. I got a call from Jason, and he said, James Goss has written an audiobook series for you, and I was so excited. And then he said, it's vampires. And I said, oh, well, I don't know if I really want to do vampires again. Obviously, having done Buffy and Angel and our feature film, Dev, which uses the vampire genre as a metaphor, and a number of other projects, I thought, I've done that. I'm not so sure. And Jason said, well, why don't you read the scripts and just see? And I was like, of course I will read the scripts. I'm a huge fan of James Goss's work, and anyone who is writing you a role, I want to see what it is. And so I was somewhat reticent about the vampire element, but I started reading, and the scripts are so good. I mean, different than anything I have ever read, seen, or watched before. And I'm the kind of person, when I think something is funny, where I kind of go, that's funny. And I don't laugh normally, but this world and this universe is so wickedly funny and special that I literally started guffawing. And I remember, Dev, you were in the other room and you said, what is going on in there? What is happening? And then I said, VAMP PD. VAMP PD is what's happening.
Mara, how did you get involved?
Well, I've loved doing voiceover and audiobooks and animation, and I always wanted to do audio drama. I thought it would be so much fun. I've loved doing this stuff since I was a kid. I have been doing it since I was a kid, and it's always been my favorite. I think I posted on Twitter or something saying, I really love doing audio. It's my favorite thing. And somebody said, oh, you should work with Big Finish. And I was like, I wouldn't say no. They do a lot of really awesome stuff. I think Big Finish must have seen that. So I guess I put it out there into the world, because then they sent my manager a copy of the script. And I read it, and the joke is that I always said that I wanted to play a vampire, because if you look at a picture or, any kind of depiction of any white vampire, they pretty much look like me. They're very pale. They've got strong features. They look kind of Eastern European. They've got dark hair. In fact, I used to work with children at a summer camp when I was right out of college, and the kids there called me Miss Vampire, because they said I looked like a vampire. Twilight was all the rage. So yeah, they were thinking about vampires. So these 6-year-olds would go by, hi, Mrs. Vampire. But I always thought that would be so fun. And so I got the script and I was like, oh, awesome. I finally get to play a vampire. And then I found out that they wanted me to play the human. And fortunately, any disappointment I had was just completely erased the second I started reading the script. I thought, oh, this is so funny. And I love this character. And I love all of these characters. And then I met Juliet at a convention, I think in Newcastle. And we started talking and I thought, oh, I'm so glad I get to work with her. She's so cool. And then, of course, I met Alimi and he was wonderful as well. And so nothing about this process was awkward or uncomfortable. It was just wonderful. It was a wonderful group to work with. I loved the script. I loved the people that I worked with. I think it is going to bring a lot of other people joy as well, because it is truly very funny and very smart and sweet and scary.
Juliet, you thought of Alimi for the project and we brought him to the role. What was it about his work you thought would be a great fit for Magnus?
Yeah, well, we were brought on as associate producers, and the minute that Mara was cast, I was so excited because I just thought she is going to kill it as Jane. And then, as Mara mentioned, we serendipitously ended up meeting at an event 2 weeks before the record and immediately clicked.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, this is going to be so much fun. And then with Alimi, the minute I read the script, Alimi popped into my mind. And one of the things that I really like, having been an actress for so much of my career and still acting, is that I really love doing a diverse range of roles. And I like to give other actors the opportunity to play something different than they normally get to play. And with Alimi, I had seen him mostly in the procedural arena as the lawyer or the doctor or the straight-laced kind of character, but I knew that he would just be phenomenal as Magnus, and I knew that he had a strong theater background and he has that honey voice, and that it would be such a great mix of me and Mara with our vocal qualities. And so you and I, Dev, drafted a letter and wrote to what turned out that we are at the same agency. And so I wrote the letter to Glenn, my agent, and then got the material to Alimi and was just beyond thrilled when he came on board.
Alimi, what was it like when you got the material?
I got the material and it blew me away. Thank you, Juliet, for those beautiful words. Everything you said, I felt when I met you, when I spoke to you. It was all tangible. And that's great when what you feel matches up to when you meet the people, because sometimes it's a little bit of a disconnect. It's having to get to know people and warm up. And I met you and just consistently, and Mara as well, just sweetness and on top of sweetness. And so when you're working creatively with people, that's going to be important because it gives it extra legs. With kind of comfortability, you get this thing called trust, this awesome word. And if you can trust the people you're working with, you go further. To me, it's been my experience, the work, special things happen because you just know there's trust over there. So we can play, you can go places. I read the material and like you said, Juliet, I laughed out loud. That doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. Like if you read scripts for a living, you're like, oh, that's funny. That'll probably look good on screen. If you're like, oh shit, I was like, I'm laughing. Like, oh my God, that's hysterical. But if it makes you laugh, like your belly goes giggles, it's going to be tangible. That's going to be felt when whoever reads it, listens to it, or views it. And so I was like, wow, this thing made me laugh. And then it did the thing that lit me up. I could feel the world. And I don't know how that happens. Like I don't, maybe there's a scientist or poet has written about it. When the world is tangible, when it's 3D, certain things are written in this 2-dimension. You're like, oh, that's cute, but it doesn't stay with you. Worlds made in great art, they stay with you, whether it's a book or a television show or a play, whatever. So the world was deep. And I was like, oh my God, I want to play in that world. I know it'll be real for me. And if it's real for me, it'll be real for the listeners.
Ursula, how did you become involved?
Well, I've been involved with Big Finish for a while. I started in this business as an actor, and I connected with Big Finish where I was living and working in London. And the first thing I did with them, sort of like Juliet, was a Doctor Who audio called The Game. And then I did a 2-hander Stargate Atlantis, and they were just sort of like one-offs. But then I started playing a character named Susan Griffin in the Dark Shadows series, which was the beginning of my moving into the Big Finish vampire realm. And then while I was doing that, I started directing for them as well, doing Stargate, SG-1, and many, many, many Dark Shadows series. This was my first venture with a new IP.
Can you talk about working with Jason and Lizzie?
So I've known Jason, as I said, for a long time, and I've worked with him for quite a bit. So that's, very familiar. But I had actually never worked with Lizzie before. I had met her at earlier Gallifrey conventions, which is a Doctor Who convention, but I had never done anything professionally with her. They asked me to go to lunch to talk about VAMP PD, and immediately I was in. I just feel like, who is going to say no to creating a new series about vampire cops? It's kind of like, if someone comes to you and says, hey, I've got this new series about vampire cops, I think most people are going to say, tell me more, right? This sounded fun. It sounded interesting. It sounded different. And then specifically working with Lizzie, usually on Big Finish productions, I'd done a lot of the producing because some of it will be recorded in England and some will be recorded here. So I would take care of all the production of the Los Angeles parts of the recordings. And that would be everything from getting the studio to getting actors to sign contracts, paying people, making a recording schedule, distributing scripts even. And that felt comfortable to me because I have a film production company, so that's in my wheelhouse. It was amazing to have a producer there doing it because all of these projects go very fast. They always deliver you tomes, like so much material. It's just the scripts are very, very long, massive, exciting, but there's not a lot of time to record them. So when you have to wear all those hats, it's just like a whole extra element. And it was just truly wonderful to have Lizzie there. She was on site the whole time. We were breaking some new ground for Big Finish and working in a new space. So it was just wonderful.
Juliet, can you talk about Jason and Lizzie a little bit?
Yeah, well, VAMP PD and Catrin is such a gift. Truly some of the best scripts and material I've ever read. So to get to be a part of that, Jason, Lizzie, James Goss, coming up with this universe for me, it just was kismet in terms of how everything came together. And Lizzie, I think her first project ever producing was Baptism by Fire because it was quite a large project to take on. And she was there with us in the trenches for every recording session. And I also want to do a shout out to Tim Steamson, the composer, who also did the sound design. And just the music is brilliant as well and adds so much to the universe and to the world.
In fact, Tim does the theme to our show. We asked him to do the theme for our podcast.
Yes.
So we're going to have more Tim.
She's not coming,
They always come.
but she's late.
Humans often are. So little time and they squander it.
Sorry. I'm late. Sorry.
Are you?
Yes. There was a line, but I brought donuts.
From Brannigan's.
Yes.
What's a stakeout without Brannigan's?
Always start a new job with baked goods.
Look at those. Glazed.
Sprinkles. Brannigan's.
You
Jane.
want one?
No thanks.
You are missing out. Be positive.
Nepkin Magnus, you're getting blood down your shirt.
Yes. But this is so tasty. What's yours?
Type O and peanut butter.
Jane, you sure you don't want one?
I am so beyond fine, it's untrue.
Welcome aboard. Did I get that right?
You did very well, Magnus, darling.
I'm not good around humans. Nothing personal.
And I'm just rude. But I'm sure we'll get along fine. As long as it lasts. It's very kind of you to bring donuts. Were they out of the chocolate frosted one?
No, I'll remember for next time.
There's no need. No need at all. But no coconut, please.
Are vampires allergic to coconut?
No. It's just tacky.
Noted. Anyway, what have I missed?
They've been partying since sunset, seemingly ordinary as parties go, drinking, bad music, worse dancing. Some people left early to vomit in taxis.
But you're certain it isn't ordinary?
Of course. We would not be sat outside for 6 hours if we weren't. Being immortal, one bores so easily.
So, what happens now?
We wait some more, and we eat donuts.
Magnus exhausts his small talk on you.
Oh, yes. Okay, so what made you decide to apply to be a vampire liaison?
Oh, Well,
Did you kill a civilian? Because that's normally what does it. Or did your partner get shot? Those were the last two.
The last liaison was charming. Such style.
Yes.
What was her name?
Emily.
Ah, yes. A hard act to follow.
So, what did you do wrong to end up sitting in a squad car with two vampires?
Well, I've always liked a challenge,
Your
and
fascinating personal tragedy will have to wait. Stay here.
We're on?
We're on.
So where is the story located?
That's such a good question. We intentionally kept the time and place somewhat undefined. It's definitely a contemporary story, but we eliminated all references that tied it to a specific year. And most of the action happens in a vibrant, diverse, cosmopolitan city like a London or a New York, maybe a Los Angeles or San Francisco. It has to be cosmopolitan enough that it's natural that people don't all have the same accents, things like that. And actually, speaking of accents, I think that was a super fun element to this project because sometimes you have to explain that. But in this case, we had the old guard vampires. And what was more important was that they'd all been around 1,000+ years, like the Catrins and the Coits. So they needed to feel like they were from the same period and also have this feeling of royalty, power, entitlement. They had no fear. So they could not have standard American accents because they were around before the colonies. Like that wouldn't even make sense in this world. They had to be like the old world. And then the character Jane, she's clearly American, but she's sort of on a metaphorical level is the new guard. She's the new world. You know, she's representing humanity, which is the new versus the vampires, which are the old. There were a lot of things like that that made the world that Alimi was talking about like really interesting to play with. You know, where is this place and how defined does it have to be?
John Huston said 99% of directing is casting.
Mm.
So I could never imagine anyone but these actors ever in these roles. Would you agree?
Well, I would agree, actually. I think the casting was amazing. I just feel like each of these actors is so unique and distinct, which really reflected the characters that they were playing. You never really know which is chicken and the egg. Like these are all such fine actors. It's like, well, did they just bring that part of themselves to the role? And maybe if it was like a totally different project, I hope to work with them all in different projects and they might come in as a totally different person. I don't really know. Yes, I can't really imagine other people playing the roles. They're all perfect.
Talk about how great the scripts are.
Oh, the scripts are fantastic. They really are a page turner, every single one. And I kept having this thing when I first read it, thinking, okay, I've gotten through one script. Is the next one going to be as good? And then it was. And then will there be a letdown? And there wasn't. And we have recorded 2 seasons, 6 episodes, and every single script is so strong. And it almost builds that each one is even better than the last one when you thought that that couldn't happen. And it's such an incredible mix of vampire, but it's procedural, it's funny, but it's scary and it's suspenseful. And it also touches on deeper themes within us, like the human condition. And so it just ticks all of the boxes that there could possibly be.
I want to agree with you 1,000%. One of the things that I love about great art, especially this particular kind of art, right? Like a book or a novel. I love when I read a novel or I watch a movie, and if I suspend disbelief 2 seconds, I'm like, this world is possible. This world could live adjacent to the world that you and I live in right now. It's fashioned in such a way that it lives directly adjacent to the world that you walk in. All the missing people, all the things that don't add up. What does that mean? What's going on over there? He fashioned a world that sits right on top of the one you live in. You just gotta look a little closer when things are off. And I'm like, I love that in a piece of art, in a novel, in a movie. And that's what also makes movies like Silence of the Lambs the scariest, because you're like, that's probably taken from real case files.
And there's so many surprises. Ultimately, you go, oh, that completely makes sense and it tracks, but you don't see any of them coming.
I really did enjoy the social commentary that was sort of very delicately, like a light hand threaded through commentary on reality shows and global themes like socially created behavior, global warming.
I actually have listened to it 3 times, the first 3. I was listening to it. And what's really wild is James Goss definitely has an agenda. He's definitely got things going on. He's making comments about the society we live in, especially about power dynamics and how wealth buys you everything, really. There's one episode I really love that deals with that. Juliet, can you tell us a little bit about Catrin and what is the Office of the Night?
Well, Catrin is 1,000 years old. She's glacial. She's like cut glass. She's imperious. She's exceedingly intelligent. She is the boss of the other 2. She lives with cats, but she's not your typical cat lady. Her cats are something that she relates to because they are apex predators, and her cats are named Lugosi, Cushing, Lee, Fay Ray, and many more of that ilk. The reason why Catrin brings in human liaisons, such as Jane, Mara's character, is because Catrin has lost touch with humanity, really. If you're alive 1,000 years, you don't really understand human emotion anymore. You're so distanced from that. And so she needs some cues about that. And in fact, I don't think Catrin really gets along or understands even vampires because a lot of them are so much younger than her. I mean, some of the issues that a 500-year-old vampire is dealing with, she's like been there, done that 500 years ago. She can come off quite rude. And I think she uses the fact that she's rude. I mean, she just sort of cuts out like there's no BS with her. Doing a bio, 1,000 years is a really long bio. I always do a bio for each character, and I literally filled almost a notebook going through it. And it was fascinating because she was around when King Arthur was there. She lived through the 100 Years of War. Her inception period was during a period of great conflict. And so she has a desire to keep the peace, which is what the Office of the Night does between the humans and the vampires. It's a policing agent that tries to keep the peace.
What really interests me is both Catrin and Magnus are wealthy. They actually don't need this job. Why are these guys driven with this mission? Why is Catrin driven to it, and why is Magnus driven it? And I'd ask Jane, because Jane is smart enough to know it's a short-term job.
Well, for Catrin, part of the mission that is clandestine and secret, and I don't want to give it away because I think it's important for the evolution of listening to the stories. Also, if I told you, probably Catrin would have to kill you. So I will leave the specifics of it, but I do know that it's very central to her character, the need for doing this and taking care of this mission, and it propels so many of the choices that she makes. And one of the other things besides a bio that I do for a character and that I really enjoyed doing for Catrin is I put a soundtrack together for every single character that I play. And Catrin's soundtrack was definitely eclectic.
I love that.
Why is your character, Alimi, why is he drawn to do this work?
Order and balance. Gentleman who's come through a world war, the Roaring 20s, owns a jazz club in Paris and becomes a monk, and then is brought into the world of being a vampire. And knowing that if the balance is not maintained, you know what I mean, there's nothing but bloodshed. Humanity is fragile, and the rules matter. You know, without the rules, they are chaos. That works for his hypochondriac nature. You know what I mean? Imagine having to feed off blood and not want to get it on your Egyptian cob. There's a level of anxiety that he just lives with. And so things need to be in place to function properly, but that's how nature works. You take the wolves out of the forest, the whole thing goes to pot. And without this balance, if you have these alpha predators, these alphas on Earth, these apex predators out of balance, the whole thing goes away. You lose the ecosystem. So I think it works for him on a fundamental level to keep the peace, to keep the lines drawn, keep everybody in order.
One of the brilliant things about Magnus is the idea of a hypochondriac vampire, someone who is destined to be neurotic and worried for eternity. And the way that Alimi, you play it is just delicious. And It makes me laugh every time. I've now listened twice because I listened through to prepare talking about this today. And every time I'm laughing out loud, which is something that I don't do with everybody. And particularly your concerns and worries throughout the piece are just hysterical.
James, let me thank you, the author. This is one of my favorite roles, period, for its sheer level of complexity and delicious joy, to use your word. It is deliciously complicated and complex, funny, goofy, heartfelt. All of the emotions. He's got the story, the way it's written, the way it's laid out and beautifully told. He goes through so many emotions in this fragile skin who isn't immortal, hard to kill, but yet so fragile a person. You know what I mean? That is a beautiful dance.
Mara, you did an incredible job in this role.
Thank you.
I love how smart Jane is.
Yeah.
And you infuse her with an excitement, but I feel worried for her. Like in every episode, I'm worried for her. But you did that absolutely brilliant. That was also your director, Ursula, as well. What do you see Jane's role in this story is, and who is she?
Jane is a very interesting character because she is very smart, but she's smart for a human. And there's a difference between being smart for a human and being smart for a vampire. So it's kind of like human beings see like a spectrum of color that's kind of small like this. And animals like a mantis shrimp see a color spectrum that's like this. Vampires are seeing the bigger ones. Vampires are like the mantis shrimp. They are seeing so much more. I think that she's somebody who's used to being very smart. You would have to be in order to get this job. I think she's a bit of an adrenaline junkie. I think that perhaps she kind of thinks that she can outsmart everybody, that she can outsmart these situations, that she can do this. Either she did something perhaps a bit not okay in her last detective job, maybe something kind of shady, or she just kind of felt like she hit the top and it was boring to her. And she was like, you know what? I'm going to try something a little bit more interesting. I bet I can do this. I've always been the smartest in every room I've walked into. And now she's kind of in over her head. And I feel like I've known so many people like that in my life where they're very smart in one part of their life and then they go into another part and they're just like, oh, this is a completely different world than the world I'm used to. And I don't know how to behave here. I don't know how to react here. And she kind of has to go by what these vampires are teaching her. Catrin is a little bit, I think, like adults that can't relate to children because they've forgotten what it's like to be a child, except times 1,000. Magnus, on the other hand, I don't know if Jane was ever a neurotic, but I do think that Jane was concerned with right and wrong. You know, maybe she bent the rules a little bit and kind of warped what was right and what was wrong, but she does have a sense of what she thinks is right and wrong.
Mhm.
You know, it's like the idea of lawful good, lawful neutral. She's like, okay, I am going to do what is good. Maybe I'll bend the rules to do it, but I'm trying to do what is good. And I think that she and Magnus kind of connect on that level. But also, I think that they connect because they've always felt a little bit on the outside. Even as a human, Magnus was on the outside. Catrin has been on the outside for a long time, but she's so far outside that Jane can't really relate to her. Jane respects her and I think fears her and appreciates what she teaches her, but she doesn't have the same kind of friendship or relationship that she has with Magnus.
Maybe if you brought the right kind of donuts, that could change.
That's true. That's true. Yes. Yeah, maybe if Jane learned to like cats.
Right, exactly. Learn.
Yeah.
And I thought that the way that you played it too, that you infused it with you're the Scully of the group of this trio.
Yeah, that's where a little bit of my own personality comes in because I'm definitely a Scully in real life. I'm always like, I don't know. Let's look at this analytically. And, you know, it's possible, but let's do this.
It takes a certain kind of human to ride in a car with vampires. You know, the vetting process. It's like there's not many humans, male or female, that can do it. The kind of mentality that goes, oh, that exists.
Yeah, our liaisons haven't lasted that long. Historically, have they?
No, they have not historically. It's to accept the world like they're finding out they're aliens. There's going to be certain people that are going to discover UFO bonkers, and some people are going to go, oh, yeah, all right. So how do we handle it? So Jane to me is extraordinary. And
how do we handle it?
Magnus sizes her up early. He's poking at the tires to kind of get inside her head to see what kind of person who does this. And instantly he's intrigued by her.
Ursula, how dangerous are the vampires in this world?
They're dangerous.
You did a brilliant job directing that because you made it humorous. You never lose the edge that these are real killers.
I think that is a delicate dance because you get so, just even listening to this conversation, you get so fond of everybody so fast and you feel so comfortable with everybody so fast. And I think that's the danger because you're dealing with a different breed. If you're going to work with
Wildlife.
stage, right?
Workers.
It's the same thing. It's
Yeah.
like they feel like they love you and you have this relationship, but they might turn on you at any moment, right? You can't take away the instinct. Right. So there's always this element of danger. And meanwhile, you have these characters who are so extraordinarily charming and thoughtful and smart and interesting and complicated. And you just want to know more and more. You sort of want to like cozy up to them and find out more. Right. And that's when it's most dangerous.
When I auditioned for this, I did it a couple of different ways. And I thought, okay, there's one where maybe she is a little bit more intimidated, a little bit more scared. But she shows, I think, in the first episode that she is not afraid to step into dangerous situations.
No. I was going to say, Mara, you strike this balance that is brilliant. You know that your character is scared, and yet you're so strong. And you present to everybody that you're not at all scared. You're a great shot. You've got all these things. You can steady your nerves. And so we get that duality. We know underneath it that there is some fear, but on top of it, we see this capable, strong woman, and you just layered that beautifully.
Thank you.
Does Catrin trust anyone totally, and how many secrets does she have?
Well, I don't think you get to be 1,000 with being overly trusting. I think she is cautious and careful, and it has served her well to live as long as she has. And I think that she doesn't keep secrets for the sake of being malicious or secretive or keeping stuff back. It is for the greater good. Even the secrets that I keep from Magnus, it's really for his own good. And so I think I'm sort of looking at the overall picture of everything. Catrin is always keeping that balance in mind. So I trust Magnus to some extent. I trust my kitties, but I would say she's a wary character for sure.
Who does she like most? List, is it Cat, Magnus, and then Jack? Is that the order?
It would be Cats first.
Yes.
It would be Magnus second. And it would be Jane would definitely come after that.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very low in the pecking order there.
There really is a progression that happens in terms of these characters all getting to know one another
That
and
is
work
true.
with each other and a shorthand. And Jane actually comes up with these salient points and sees things from a perspective that's very different than we do that helps us with the crimes that we are solving.
What's going on? I'm so drunk. How am I so drunk? This party is wild. I'm talking to a rubber ducky. Am I supposed to be doing something? Or should I just slide down on this lovely, lovely rug? Yeah, we can make that work. This party is totally out of control. How long have I been here? Huh? Ducky? Leave me alone. Go away! Go away! Get out! Save yourselves! Finally, some peace.
There you are.
Catrin!
Do I know you?
Jane, I'm your new...
Victim. Human victim. Right. Hiya.
What are you doing in the bath?
Having a bath, dear.
Where's the water? Are you drunk?
Are you drunk? Go away, or I'll tear your head off. You're absolutely smashed.
So are you. I mean, you're totally different from earlier.
Different how?
You're still horrible, but you've defrosted. Oh, did I just say that?
You did just say that.
Oh, my head hurts. Can you remember when we got here?
No.
I don't remember drinking that much. I mean, I had the punch.
Who drinks punch? Oh, you know, I think I drank the punch. Or I drank someone who drank the punch. Yes, that's it. Oopsie. Naughty Catrin. Wait, is that Magnus?
No, that's the rubber duck. He's my friend.
Right. Where is Magnus? He's my friend. I've been a bad girl drinking blood. Do you trust me?
Yes?
Don't.
Something's really wrong here. I don't feel well.
I'm such a naughty Katie. Bad Katie. What must you think of me for drinking people?
Are you all right?
Tell me. Genuinely curious. But what do you taste like?
I think I'd better leave. Coming! I'm done here!
Don't open the door, Jane dear. I think whatever's out there is far worse than me. And I'm very, very bad. I think, my dear, if you stay in this room much longer, I will have to kill you.
Yes, right. And... Shut up! Outside isn't safe.
If everyone at the party's been spiked, no. I'm a very disciplined vampire, and it's all I can do not to tear you apart and suck out the marrow. So, imagine what the other vampires are feeling.
Okay.
And whatever you've been hit with makes it very, 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 very hard for you to run away. Victim juice. Va-va-va-voom.
I came prepared.
Oh dear. You brought a vampire killing kit to a vampire party? How rude of you.
You're planning on killing me.
Purely instinct. I'll feel very bad about it tomorrow. Promise. Cross my heart, hope to... Oh, I've already done that.
You make one move out of that bath, and I will kill you.
But you're the drunkest person I've ever met.
And I'm also a very good shot, even when I'm drunk. See?
Ooh, how naughty you are.
Listen to me. We have to sort this out without killing each other.
Or I could just kill you and then sort it out.
She might even say at some point that she likes her more than some of the other human liaisons. Maybe she never says it explicitly, but...
Not explicit. I definitely don't say it explicitly.
She's not the type that would say that explicitly.
I'm not an effusive character.
No, you're not. You're not.
It does come out that that's might be
does.
the case.
I think that's definitely the case. And I also think that what's so interesting about Catrin is she's so accustomed to betrayal. She expects it from everyone. And in fact, I think that there's even an element of respect when people do even betray her. It's almost like, well, that's what's supposed to happen. Like, it's a very complicated relationship with all the people that she interacts with. She expects that from people. She doesn't expect people to be there for her.
Well, yeah, humans, we have proved to be a species that does betray, that does do things that are not in the best interest of everyone. We don't necessarily take care of one another. We don't necessarily stay away from what ends up being bad and evil, or whatever words, narcissistic, whatever you want to call those words. Humans have so many foibles. Obviously, vampires were human and have all of those foibles, plus more. It has been time and again that Catrin has seen that kind of thing play out.
What I love about Magnus's relationship, Magnus loves Catrin. There's something about having it's not symbiotic, but you have a balanced relationship where there is some kind of support going on. He helps with her humanity. It's like being close to a dragon. You know what I mean? But a dragon that has needs. Very dangerous, very powerful creature. But when you get close up on them, they're warm. If you know how to touch them, right? Very dangerous thing. You know what I'm saying? I think I protect a lot of people from her because they don't know the mechanism. One of Magnus's, I think, invisibility cloaks with Catrin is that he's naturally honest. He doesn't have guile in him.
That's true.
And so there's a safety there. You know what I mean? In a way, he's valuable to her. He doesn't have the trickery that's not going to come out of him.
Yes.
His mind is another kind of person. So he's also someone that she feels is valuable for that thing right there. She can trust him to his knowledge level.
He's reliable.
And working with Juliet was just, let me just say, it was so beautiful. You are such a wonderful artist. And I could feel all of these things in your performance. The same for you, Mara. I could feel it in your direction, Ursula.
Well, we were lucky to all be in the room together.
We were. We all had such an alchemy and chemistry right from the get-go. And I know that Mara, we got to hang out prior, and Alimi, we had a phone call. And then same with Ursula, we were in communication. But when we got in the booth the first day, right away, it literally started. There was no needing to rev up or warm up. It was like a tennis match or a dance where we were all in a groove, working off each other. So much happening, so many belly laughs, so many moments where we were all crying, so much stuff just being lobbed, and then Ursula steering the ship in this way that felt so fluid, because you have to realize, as Ursula mentioned, each episode is like a tome. You come in with this massive stacks of material, and you have to move fairly quickly through the material, and we just all started in such a groove together. It was beautiful.
I actually came and did some photography for this, and what was wild was you would have sworn you guys had been together for years. Literally, the way it was just like.
Magnus and I have been together for 10.
For quite a long time. I just have two more quick questions. Can all the actors describe the other two leads from your point of view as a character?
Ooh. Let's see. Magnus is a youngster. He's a baby. Barely 100. Baby. Janet is our servant.
It's Jane. It's Jane. Catrin, I
It's
told you
Jane.
that it's Jane.
Jane, I've got it.
Thank you.
Jane doesn't bring good donuts. Tacky.
You know, I try. I'm trying very, very hard. You know, Catrin, I think that you are very intelligent, very worthy of respect, and I think that you must have led a truly fascinating life.
Thank you so much, Jane. I've given you a 75% probability rate for staying alive, and that's very high. Usually it's hovering around 90, so I think you...
Okay.
Yeah. So you're in the 75 percentile range, which is fascinating. I find you fascinating, and I think you're going to live. You have an ability to adjust on your feet, and you seem pretty clever, and you're a good shot. And that's great. Yeah, you're a good shot.
I am.
That's going to be helpful for you. And of course, my boss, Catrin, she has a reputation. But if you don't approach her from her blind side anyway, there's a good chance that you won't wind up as food. If you get to know her, she's prickly, but if you get to know her, which is rare, you'll find the warm spots.
Juliet, can you tell people where they can get VAMP PD?
Well done, my baby. My baby.
That's my favorite line of yours. Baby.
All of my babies out there can get VAMP PD at bigfinish.com. Woo!
Thank you so much, guys. This has been amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much.
Absolute pleasure. This is delightful. I love you all. Well, every time we get together, it's a special thing.
Aw, it really is.
My baby.